All right, let's bring in my panel because I want to talk about a whole range of things. The swing states, in the lead up, no one thought they would all be collected by one of the players, but they were. Donald Trump pulling off a clean sweep, winning all 7. The transition team well and truly underway. They are already talking about the largest mass deportation in US history, basically on day one. The president-elect's also expected to reverse some of the Biden administration's climate policies, well, hallelujah to that, and introduce tariffs on imported goods. Let's bring in the panel now to discuss the US election and more. Sky News contributor Kosha Garda and the past chair of the Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee, Michael Danby. Well, it's the wash-up. We could keep talking about it forever and ever because so many people got wrong. The left of the mainstream media are delightful in their hysteria in recent days. I'm sure you're enjoying it as much as we are. Were you surprised, Kosha, by the scale of this win?
Yes and no. So I think probabilistically it was such a toss-up, and we were saying that up until the bitter end. But the fundamentals were so different. It was such a high contrast election that the connective tissue between the different states can run through them and does run through them when it's such a fundamental issue set at play as this was: economy, immigration, inflation, foreign policy, etc. And there was a thinking that if there's a rising tide phenomenon, and if you start to see the momentum on those issues moving in one direction, then it'll pull all of them in it. But it is, that said, it is remarkable if you think about not just the 7 states, but how much the popular vote is huge.
Well, there was a big swing in California and New Jersey.
Every single county moved towards him. Every single demographic group moved towards him. That, I think, is quite stunning. And just given how fragmented the electorate is, it hasn't happened since Reagan years, 1988. So that is quite stunning.
That rally he had in the Bronx was indicative, I think.
I was reading analysis overnight that said that this will be even bigger. This is the biggest sort of demographic popular vote win, surpassing even the Reagan period. Is that right, Michael?
Well, I think it's the biggest swing of demographics that haven't swung before. Yeah. Young black men, Hispanics. He's done better than George Bush in some areas. And if they permanently stay in a Republican coalition, it's very bad for the Democrats. And I think that woke agenda of the left-wing Democrats pushed on mainstream Democrats has been killing them. And it has the same effect here. So there are lessons from, the result there for here.
Although Labor are like a whole lot of monkeys on the bench, don't see, don't watch, don't know, nothing to do with us.
Go woke, go politically broke.
100%. Talk to me about Tim Homan. This will be the new border czar, a former police officer, former immigration official. A lot of people are a big rap for him. What do we know about him?
Well, he's been on Fox News the ensuing years since he's been critical of the Biden administration. I think he was the ICE director beforehand, and he is going to do what the president's will, particularly focus on criminal people who've come into the United States who were involved in murdering, raping or robbing, and they'll be the first out, and people will have little sympathy for them, and they're playing a strong card, if you ask me. And we had that huge debate here in Australia about, both political parties determining that Australia will determine who is going to say who comes to this country, and the fact that Peter Dutton's picking up on people who are getting in under the radar is very bad for the government.
Yeah, interesting, for all the talk that he hates women and women finding polarising, he has appointed a female chief of staff. I think we'd have to go back a long way, if at all, to see.
I think it's the first
Republican side. Yeah, I think it's the first one, full stop. Certainly the first one on the Republican side, female chief of staff. But also he's put another woman back in the UN job. That's a job that the rest of the world also cares about. There's a strong UN ambassador for the United States. What do we know about Elise Stefanik?
It's Congresswoman from New York, Elise Stefanik. She's interesting because she's been on a little bit of a journey. When she first came out onto the scene, she wasn't exactly a Trump lover, but soon she did actually realize and embrace the populist nationalism message of his and that brand of Republican politics, and where she comes from in upstate New York. That is what the people want. So she recognized that and pretty quickly became a stalwart loyalist of his. She also rose to prominence with those interrogations on the college campuses and the anti-Semitic protests and how that was mishandled. And she very masterfully questioned those presidents.
That's the point that the ABC, John Lyons, who was bagging her on the ABC network, of course, doesn't mention. So he doesn't mention what she's known for. He just mentions the fact that she's now a Trump loyalist. Right. So it's just one-eyed.
Keep moving. I want to mention that there's a climate skeptic going in to run the EPA. Hallelujah to that. But also Mike Pompeo, Nikki Haley, they're not part of the mix. Haley, I can see why. But Pompeo, that's about JD Vance. That's taking away any chance that Pompeo will build a renewed brand to challenge Vance at the end of the president's term.
It's very sad because I think Pompeo would have given the Trump administration international continuity, and it's part of a campaign which I think is very unfortunate. It's a minor influence, the isolationist Tucker Carlson influence, who's been running an enormously vicious campaign against Pompeo. But, you know, these things, Marco Rubio may be Secretary of State, he's mainstream. Lee Zeldin, who you were talking about, the former New York candidate for governor, he's mainstream, he was a congressman there. You know, they're questioning the Chris Bowen agenda in the United States, and good luck to them.
Bloodletting on the Democrat side, she's gone, isn't she? Surely Harris, that's the end of Harris.
I think her political career on the national stage, if she never really had one, she never got out of the gate successfully, it's over. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets some kind of cushy job somewhere, the president of a university or her book tour or something like that, because they tend to take care of their own. But politically, I think she's done.
And all the celebrities we find out today, a lot were paid to speak for her. But George Clooney's licking his wounds. He says he's out of politics now.
Well, he should be. George Clooney, the political history of George Clooney, running the big fundraiser for Biden in Los Angeles. And then Biden said he was going to question that International Criminal Court, which Amal Clooney is on. George rings up Biden and shouts and screams at him, and Biden drops that plan. I'm glad he's getting out of politics. It's undue influence of a person who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Stick tacting.
Well, if he's that good anyway. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Ocean's 11.